So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I started 36 years ago in the pest control industry, and it came about when I was a policeman. I was getting ready for work and I was putting my police boots on and a cockroach ran out. And I knew that it was someone at work that actually did pest control on the side, and that was on our notice board. So I rang him up and he came out pronto, and he arrived in his dad's B, which I thought was a little bit unusual. And then he dragged out a pair of overalls and a little hand pump, and then he proceeded to do my place, and it worked wonderfully. You know, I asked him where he got his chemical from, he told me, and so I went along and decided to get myself educated on how to be a pest controller. So I joined a TED course in Ultimo, and I went there 2 days a week for 3 hours at a time. Today it's only 1 week. It's continuous. So when I got through that, I knew all about the theory. I knew all the insect orders off by heart. I knew all of the biology, and I knew nothing about how to practically do pest control. So I ended up working on a neighbour of mine that was in the industry, worked for Flick, and I got a few tips and I went out on the road. One of the first jobs that I got, apart from the normal cockroach and spider jobs, was a termite job. And this lady had a big termite nest under the house. You know, it was one of those big dome sort of nests. So I decided that you know, that's going to be a cinch. You know, so I just got under there and spent a few hours digging the termite nest out, and then drenched it with the chemical, which was heptachlorine in those days, an organic chlorine that we don't have nowadays. Some of you people might remember that the old pest control treatments where the house was just fumed out and you couldn't go in there for days. That's what we were dealing with, and I thought nothing's going to survive this. And it ended up becoming a problem job because the lady kept on getting termites back. And I thought, geez, that's strange, you know, you've dumped heaps of chemical and destroyed the nest, you know, what else is it? Knowing what I know now, if I could go back 36 years ago, I'd know exactly how to do it. I'd use our thermal imaging to find out where the termites were getting up. And then I'd do a different treatment. We've got a treatment now called termites, where it's not fuming, and the chemical that we use is transferred through the colony back to the nest. So it doesn't kill termites instantly like the old style fuming chemical does, but it actually works in the cockroaches picking it up, dying slowly, and then returning to the nest. So yeah, so what I would have done, if I know what I know now, back then, I would have used the thermal imaging camera, and we just do a reading of the heat into the walls and the ceiling. We've been able to find out where the termites are tracking. And they're actually tracking underneath the front veranda that we hadn't accessed. You know, I didn't even know it was there. So what I would have done these days, I would have broken through that brick wall, and then I would have got the termites were actually tracking up through the back of that, up through the wall cavity into the roof. So yeah, these days we rely more on technology. I actually pass around the mobile phone's got an app called Termitrack on it. And how this app works, how Termitrack works, is we use it as a fine-tuning for our thermal imaging. So if we do our thermal imaging, we find that there's perhaps a wall nest that's causing the problems. We use this technology to find out where the termites are coming from. Now, a lot of guys in the industry just throw up their hands and say, well, you know, the termites could be coming from anywhere. You know, it could be 100 metres within the house, and that's not good enough as far as we're concerned. So we try to find out where the termite colony is. Visually, we can see maybe if there's some big gum trees or some retaining walls that are causing the problem by having cell nests. But if that's not the case, we can't find the obvious place where the termites are coming from. We use the thermal and we fine-tune it with this device called Termitrack. Now, who's got the app? Yeah, could you just press the thermal? And that's the temperature. I don't know whether it can work from this distance. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so if you look to the back,
Oh my God.
Look at it like this, you can see that will give a thermal reading right up to wherever you want to put it, that goes to infinity. So we can really get the spots we can't access visually, we can get a reading from it. We can also...
Can you put it on Mark? See if you can turn up?
He's red hot. Okay, so if you turned off that whoever's got it and put it onto the moisture.
Just go done.
Sorry? Done, yeah.
You can see if Peter Randall's still wet behind the ears.
Moisture? Yeah, moisture. Yep. So what we do, the normal visual inspection uses a moisture meter. That's a little black box that picks up the ambient moisture. And there's a lot of moisture we know that might be termites. So we'll put it on this surface here that's going to be much drier than what my hand is. It works in that black band around there. That should be going on.
You're dripping.
And the other really important function is that the radar. Now, termites don't ever stop moving, but they work continuously just like A1 Pest Control, 24 hours a day. And what they do is they gather the food and take it back to the nest. They just work themselves to death. So with I usually give a demonstration to the client of going through a wooden table, and if I sort of interrupt the rays that are coming out from underneath the foot of the device, that will show on the PDA. Is it on radar?
You got on radar? You're traveling too quick.
He's on YouTube.
So we use.
You just read this girlfriend out, so he's on
Slight left ball.
So if we're getting heat, we're getting moisture, and we're getting most importantly the movement, we know we've got either termites or ants. Now termites and ants move differently. Ants will sort of usually follow a trail like that, and termites, because there's large numbers, it actually pulsates. So we're able to tell when we do our checking where the termites are, what they're doing, and where they're coming from. So yeah, that's where our point of difference is. A lot of the other pest controls that do just normal visual inspections, they'll use a torch. Sorry? Oh, okay. Yeah, they use a torch, and they use a long perspex device with a little knob at the end, and they call it a termite bomber. Embarrassing name, but that's what they use. And then they just tap. What's it called? A dommer.
Oh, right.
I thought he had
It's all about clarity. Avoiding confusion.
Yeah, so that's essentially what we do. That's our point of difference with termites. We also do other things, but mainly we're concentrating these days on ticks and termites. We are specialists in ticks, but I'll leave that for another day. And thanks very much for letting me deliver Plan B.
Thanks, Mr. Bruce. Does anyone got any questions? Jerry?
Oh, the device there on the corner of the table that we cut in this morning, what is that?
It's a tractor Jeremy.
Oh, that's a mosquito killer. I've given that to Deborah for a week's trial. Anyone here can use it for a week's trial. It gets rid of mozzies without using any insecticides. It's completely non-toxic, and it draws in mosquitoes from a metal belt around it that emits CO2, so it simulates people breathing, and it sucks them down with the fan. It actually suffocates them.
Oh, so it doesn't go to
No, it doesn't have mozzie guts everywhere, so yeah, you just do it empty it every day or so.
What's the range for us?
300 square metres. It's quite a big area, and you can use it. Some people get two of them, but mainly only one. And we charge $220, including GST, or $185 for BNI meters.
You just plug it into the power.
Just plug in the power point, just hang it, and really what it works. Just be great.
That's available for life.
We've got a little bit of time, so that's okay.
How did she get rid of the termite problem 36 years ago? Did she end up having to get rid of her house, knock it down with a bulldozer and stuff again? Because that's what happened in Kellyville. We were buying a house in Kellyville, and then all of a sudden the real estate agent said, wait a minute, oh, you have to let me know that there's a significant termite problem and it's now knockdown only.
Yeah, well,
And that was like 10 years ago.
yeah, well, this house was nearly completely trashed, and it was sold to the new owners with carpet that had cardboard under it, and yeah, so it was a completely dodgy sort of transaction. So the way that we ended up fixing the problem was I found out there was a gum tree. We started going through the gum tree, and we used some powder. Dust off the termites where we found them. So we eventually solved it, but it took us about 4 or 5 goes.
And it was probably too late to save the house. Could you say?
Oh, well, yeah, they had a lot of damage, probably had about $60,000 to $80,000 worth of damage.
Bruce, you got it. You need wood for termites. So if you had a steel frame house completely brick, you might get termites.
I love those ads because they're not true. Because you'll always get some sort of timber. You'll get door frames and screening boards, and we've actually treated houses like that before. Yep.
How dangerous is an old termite nest?
An old termite nest?
Yes.
Just move slides.
Yeah.
They'll move out.
Well, they don't seem to be there anymore.
Yeah, well, the termites from the flying stage, when they're reproductives, that takes 3 to 5 years to become mature enough to attack a house. So the termite nest can last for 10 to 15 years easily if it's got a food source. And they'll also consume any cellulose, so cardboard and paper, that sort of stuff to look after. So don't have any of that stuff in ground contact.
Thank you. Thank you.